They called it the Widowmaker. 140 horsepower, 500 pounds, a two-stroke triple that could hit 120 miles per hour on ice with braking tech that never caught up to triple-digit reality. Between 1993 and 2003, the Ski-Doo Mach Z became one of the most feared performance sleds ever sold. Not because it was poorly built, because it was too damn good. It cost $4,400 in 1996. Today, that same performance costs $19,000. And here's what nobody tells you, that 96 Mach Z will still destroy most modern sleds in a straight line. The technology got refined, the computers got smarter, but the raw, unfiltered violence of those 90s muscle sleds, gone forever. And I'm going to tell you exactly why these machines became legends, why they nearly destroyed an entire generation of riders, and why nothing will ever feel like piloting a two-stroke triple at full throttle across questionable ice. I don't usually cover snowmobiles. Most of what I do lives in the two-wheeled world, but snowmobiles were different. Growing up in the Midwest, winter was oppressive. Snow turns gray by March, fields become impassable. Then someone fires up a snowmobile and winter transforms into a playground. I remember that floating sensation, how 30 miles per hour felt like 60. In 1992, figure skaters Brian Boitano and Dorothy Hamill rode off the field on a snowmobile during Super Bowl halftime. That's how mainstream this was. But what fascinated me were the performance sleds, going 100+ miles per hour on unpredictable terrain, on semi-frozen water that could crack beneath you. Unfathomable. Today we're looking at the most legendary, most dangerous performance snowmobile ever built, the Ski-Doo Mach Z. The roots of snowmobiling go back to the late 20s when Carl Eliason of Sainer, Wisconsin, built early motor toboggans like the Frigid Flyer. Crude machines, sleds with treads and skis, loud, unstable, dangerous. But they worked. The breakthrough came in the 50s when Bombardier of Quebec went mainstream with mass-produced sleds. Light, affordable, reliable. Ski-Doo created the modern market. By the early 60s, Ski-Doo became synonymous with snowmobiling, like Kleenex for tissues. In '65, Wisconsin built the first official public trail in 3 lakes. Within years, more trail mileage than interstate highways. Success pushed Polaris, Arctic Cat, and Yamaha into competition. Clubs sprang up organizing rides, building trails. Racing took hold at Eagle River World Championship Derby in '64. By the mid-'80s, performance was reviving. Ski-Doo's options were the Formula MX and Formula Plus. 500cc two-stroke twins making decent power, but weighing over 500 pounds. Solid trail sleds. Nothing special. Competition was fierce. Ski-Doo in particular was under intense pressure from their riders to make more powerful options, more speed, more adrenaline. In 1989, they released the Mach 1. Now this wasn't a muscle sled yet. It was still designed primarily for trail riding, not incredible speed and performance. But it was advanced for its time. It featured variable exhaust valves, something that was really groundbreaking at this point. Despite its smaller engine, the Mach 1 used a 583cc twin-cylinder engine that was able to go toe-to-toe with the 650cc engines from rival brands. That 583 really laid the groundwork for this Mach name. From '89 through '92, the 583-powered models carried Ski-Doo's performance banner and established the DNA that would define the entire Mach series going forward. Then came 1993. This was the year everything changed. Up until then, Ski-Doo had no triple-cylinder engine in its lineup. Riders had been begging for one, so Ski-Doo answered with the Mach Z, powered by a brand new 780 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled triple. This wasn't just an upgrade. This was a completely new animal, sleek, aggressive, powerful beyond anything Ski-Doo had ever built. And the timing of this was absolutely wild because practically overnight, every manufacturer dropped a heavyweight muscle sled. Polaris had just launched their XLT 580. Yamaha unveiled the VMAX 4, a wild 4-cylinder 800cc beast. Arctic Cat dropped the Thundercat 900. The muscle sled wars had officially begun. Early Mach Z units were rare. Most dealers got 1 or 2, rushed to market under customer pressure, clean sheet design despite the rush. New F2000 chassis, new suspension, new engine. Fresh look became the halo product instantly. And the standout feature was this Sleds chassis. While many sleds still use steel frames, the Mach Z featured an extensively redesigned aluminum structure. Now let me be very clear here, because this is where a lot of misinformation exists. The Mach Z was not the first snowmobile with an aluminum chassis. Arctic Cat had aluminum tunnels back in the 1960s. John Deere used aluminum extensively in the 1970s. But what Ski-Doo did was create a modern, lightweight aluminum structure specifically designed to handle the massive power and stress of a high-horsepower triple-cylinder engine. And that made a huge difference. This sled weighed just over 500 pounds but was putting out around 140 horsepower. Truly manic performance. This was like the Quadzilla of the snowmobile world. Riders wanted more suspension travel for rougher trails, and the new setup delivered. It absorbed bumps better, gave more control, and people went absolutely insane trying to get their hands on one. But these early models had problems. One of the biggest issues was the clutch. Ski-Doo had spec'd a Comet clutch for the Mach Z, but it simply couldn't handle the triple's power. Clutches were grenading left and right. This led to recalls. By the next season, Ski-Doo had swapped it for their own TRA clutch, which became the standard going forward. Despite the teething problems, customer enthusiasm was through the roof. Demand was so high that some buyers literally kissed their sled when they picked it up from the dealer. I'm not making that up. By 1995, the Mach Z had matured. The early flaws were fixed. The sled now had a reputation as probably the best muscle sled in the industry. By the mid-1990s, some estimates placed the Rotax triple at nearly 150 horsepower, staggering output for that era. Over the next few years, Ski-Doo continued polishing this package. They reworked the chassis, improved suspension systems. By 95 and 96, the Mach Z was known not just as a powerhouse, but as a genuinely dependable sled. Riders lined up to buy them. These mid-90s models are the ones that really etched the Mach Z into snowmobile history. Fast, aggressive, rare, and absolutely legendary. Now let's talk about the competition, because this wasn't a one-horse race, and the Arctic Cat Thundercat deserves serious respect here. The Thundercat came in two versions, the 900 and later the 1000. That Thundercat 1000 was an absolute monster. Stock, it was making around 160 horsepower. With a studded track in the right conditions, it was often faster than the Mach Z in a straight line. The Thundercat had a reputation as the undisputed king of the frozen lakes. Tunnel vision at 120 miles per hour, skis barely touching the ice, pure insanity. Guys who own Thundercats will tell you there was absolutely nothing else like it. And then there's Yamaha's VMAX 4. That thing was a technological marvel. 4 cylinders, 800 cubic centimeters, smooth as glass compared to the triples. It wasn't always the fastest sled out there, but it was incredibly reliable, and it sounded like absolutely nothing else on snow. The point is, this era wasn't about one sled dominating everything. It was about multiple manufacturers pushing the absolute limits of what was possible with two-stroke technology. And riders absolutely loved every single second of it. In 1997, the Mach Z evolved again. Ski-Doo bumped the displacement to 800cc with the new Type 809 engine. This was still a triple cylinder, but with more low-end torque and better top-end pull. Along with the bigger engine came the SC10 rear suspension, which dramatically improved comfort and control. The Mach Z was still a heavyweight machine, but it now absorbed bumps more effectively. It gave riders more adjustability for weight transfer, whether you were drag racing on a frozen lake or carving through tight technical trails. In 1998, the transformation continued when the Mach Z moved to the brand new ZX chassis, also called the CK3 platform. This was a complete ground-up redesign. New frame, new suspension geometry, new ergonomics. The sled was broader, more stable, and clearly engineered for serious horsepower. Early models had some issues, especially with wiring harnesses, but Ski-Doo corrected these by '99. And by the end of the decade, the Mach Z was an absolute brute. Ski-Doo had firmly planted its flag in the triple-cylinder wars. A 100-plus mile-per-hour monster that could be ridden hard all day long. And let me tell you what it was actually like to ride one of these things, because the stats and the specs don't capture the actual experience. When you thumb the throttle on a Mach Z with a studded track, the front end comes up. Not a little wheelie, it lifts. The engine screams through 3 expansion chambers, creating this unholy wail that you can hear from miles away. The acceleration is violent. Your arms are literally getting ripped from the sockets. You're holding on for dear life. The speedometer climbs faster than it has any right to. 60, 80, 100, and it just keeps pulling. On a smooth frozen lake with good ice conditions, these sleds would push 120, 130 miles per hour on the speedometer. Now, the speedometers back then were notoriously optimistic. Track speed didn't always equal your actual speed. But even if you were doing 110, 115 miles per hour, that's still absolutely terrifying on snow. Because unlike pavement, snow and ice are wildly unpredictable. Ice conditions can change from one end of the lake to the other. Visibility can drop from crystal clear to complete whiteout in seconds. And the braking systems on these sleds felt like they were made for half that speed. A mistake at that velocity usually meant catastrophe. And catastrophe happened constantly. By the late 90s, frozen lake racing had become a massive phenomenon in northern states and across Canada. Riders would line up side by side on marked courses across the ice, hammer the throttle, and see who could stretch their Mach Z or Thundercat or VMAX 4 the furthest across the frozen surface. It was like grassroots drag racing at its absolute purest form. No official sanctioning, no real safety regulations, just raw speed and pure adrenaline. And it looked absolutely incredible, but it was also deadly. Ice conditions are wildly unpredictable. What looks perfectly solid can have weak spots or pressure cracks running underneath. Visibility on a frozen lake can go from clear to complete whiteout in literal seconds when the wind kicks up. And the sleds themselves had basic drum brakes or early disc brake setups that felt woefully inadequate for emergency stops from 100 miles per hour. A mistake at those speeds meant you were hitting a pressure ridge at full velocity, going through thin ice into freezing water, or slamming directly into another sled, and it happened all the time. Throughout the 90s, snowmobile deaths rose noticeably, with speed listed as really the leading cause for fatalities in both US and Canadian accident reports. Local newspapers would carry stories every single winter of riders who had crashed on lakes or trails after pushing these machines way beyond their limits. Public outcry grew, particularly from community leaders in rural areas, where snowmobiling was quickly becoming a defining way of life. In response to the rising accident numbers, some regions began tightening snowmobile rules and regulations. Training courses and operator licenses were introduced for younger riders. Minimum age requirements became more common, and enforcement around specifically alcohol use on the trails grew much stricter. Because let's be completely honest here, a significant portion of these accidents involved riders who were drunk or impaired. A few jurisdictions also experimented with implementing speed limits on designated public trails. There were also serious discussions in several northern states and provinces about whether the industry itself should be held legally accountable for producing machines that could so easily exceed 100 miles per hour on snow and ice. Unlike the three-wheeled ATVs of the 80s, which eventually got banned outright, high-horsepower snowmobiles were never actually prohibited. Instead, pressure came from insurance companies, snowmobile clubs, and state lawmakers who focused much more on rider education and stricter enforcement, rather than prohibiting certain machines entirely. Still, the constant negative headlines took their toll on the industry and on public perception. The muscle sleds like the Mach Z gained a reputation as dangerous straight-line missiles that were absolutely thrilling to ride but completely unforgiving of any mistakes. By the early 2000s, the performance arms race had really shifted direction. Instead of chasing bigger engines, faster speeds, and more powerful triples, manufacturers started prioritizing things like control, balance, and rider-forward ergonomics that actually helped you manage all that power. Ski-Doo's Rev chassis, introduced in 2003, was really the clearest example of this fundamental shift in philosophy. The REV wasn't just fast in a straight line, it was genuinely agile. It handled properly. It gave riders the actual ability to control that speed a little more safely without sacrificing too much performance. The muscle sled era was coming to an end. The year 2000 brought about the Millennium Mach Z, which became a real collector's piece in the Mach Z lineup. Chrome everywhere, and each unit carried a numbered plaque identifying it. As Y2K approached, many riders expected every manufacturer to roll out something really special for the new millennium. And in the end, Ski-Doo was really the only one that actually delivered on that expectation. And that's exactly why the Millennium Mach Z stands out today as a rare mix of muscle, flash, and genuine exclusivity. The Mach Z did carry into the early 2000s with some added features like electronic reverse and adjustable handlebars. It still pumped out close to 150 horsepower, but by 2001 and 2002, the market was clearly moving toward lighter, more agile twin-cylinder sleds with better power-to-weight ratios, sharper handling characteristics, and much easier manners at speed. Think sports sleds versus traditional muscle sleds. Against this backdrop, the big heavy triples started looking increasingly outdated. 2003 really marked the end of the original Mach Z line. Most people genuinely thought that the Mach Z would never return. The market had essentially moved on from that formula entirely. But in 2005, Ski-Doo absolutely stunned the snowmobile market with a completely unexpected revival. This new Mach Z was built on the RT chassis and powered by a massive 1,000 cubic centimeter twin-cylinder engine, producing roughly 170 horsepower. This made it sit at the very top in terms of raw performance for production of snowmobiles at that time. And also, thanks to counterbalancers built into the engine, it was surprisingly smooth for such a giant motor. Though still definitely a bulky machine, the RT platform centralized the riding position much better, giving it more balance and control than its triple-cylinder predecessors had ever offered. And riders absolutely went crazy for this new iteration. The Mach Z came in several different flavors, including the X package with significantly upgraded suspension components. These RT platform models are still revered today as the last true over-the-top muscle sleds that Ski-Doo ever produced. But by 2008, the writing was clearly on the wall. Sales numbers slumped hard. Only around 750 units were made in that second production year, then barely 500 in the final season. Most riders had shifted their preferences to lighter, more versatile twin-cylinder sleds. And so Ski-Doo officially pulled the plug, and the Mach Z name was gone once again. Years passed with absolutely no revival of the Mach Z name whatsoever. But then in 2022, BRP completely shocked the snowmobile world by reviving the Mach Z name for one more final run. It was offered as a strictly one-year-only limited edition model powered by the 900 AC Turbo R 4-stroke engine with 180 horsepower on tap. And this became Ski-Doo's most powerful production snowmobile they had ever made. This sled had features like launch control, smart shocks, and fully electronic suspension adjustment. It was equal parts muscle car and technological refinement. Seasoned older riders who were nostalgic for the old Mach Z machines bought it immediately, and younger riders who had only really heard the legends secondhand wanted to experience it firsthand for themselves. Here's what nobody talks about. That 96 Mach Z, $4,400. Adjusted for inflation, about $8,600 today. Comparable performance now? $19,000 minimum. More than double in real terms for machines more refined, but not more thrilling. Raw chaos of 90s triples is gone. Modern sleds faster on paper, handle better, more reliable, but no edge. No feeling the machine might kill you. Maybe that's good. Maybe we don't need sleds hitting 120 on frozen lakes with braking systems from a different era. But man, there's a part that misses it. Sound of triples screaming across ice. Smell of two-stroke oil in cold air. Absolute insanity of strapping to 500 pounds of horsepower and sending it. For fans of performance sledding, the Mach Z is an icon. Ski-Doo wasn't known for muscle sleds before this. They were pioneers of recreational snowmobiling. But the 583 Twin and these crazy triples represented stepping way out to build something special. Dangerous, legendary. Many of you have experience with these machines. You owned one. Your dad or uncle had one. You were the guy with the Thundercat smoking everyone. Drop a comment about your wildest sled, what you rode, fastest you went, close calls that made you rethink choices. Half of you have stories starting with, I was doing 110 across the lake when. Want more videos on wildest machines? Hit subscribe. Check the next video on power sports history that changed everything. Thanks for watching. Ride safe.